Hey folks, Copper Thumb here. I've been using Blender for over 10 years to design creatures, deck boxes, puzzles, terrain, and all sorts of other weird and fantastical things. I wish I'd had this video right at the start, something that would cover all of the basics, navigation, the tools I'm going to be using 90% of the time. The idea of this video is to give you the fundamentals to approach all of the projects and tutorials, knowing that you know all of the basic information. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. Okay folks, so when you first open up Blender, you are going to be met with this screen. And the first thing we're going to learn about is navigation. Right now we have this default cube in the center of our scene. And we can look closer at that cube by scrolling on the scroll wheel on our mouse. Scroll in and out. Whoop, there he is. Big cube, small cube. Big cube, small cube. Now, if you push in that scroll wheel, it will rotate around the object. So you can practice there, and if you move up and down, you can basically just rotate your view all around the cube there. Awesome. Now, on whatever view you are on, if you hold Shift and then click in the scroll wheel, it will pan up and down, left and right. Now, if you pan too far, and then click the middle mouse button and scroll around, you'll now notice that it is not scrolling around our view, around our cube anymore, but instead around the view that we have moved to. Now, do not fret. To fix this, if you click on the object to make it active, and if you look in the top right, you can see this is our scene. We have a cube, a camera, and a light. Don't worry about the camera and the light. That's mainly for animation or for rendering images. We don't need that for our 3D design, especially not for this basic tutorial. So select your object. You know it's selected when it has this orange glow around it. And then if you hit the period key on your numpad, it will zoom in on your active object or your active element. And now when you scroll again, it's back there. So practice zooming in and out, practice scrolling, practice panning, and if you want some other basic tools to practice on your numpad, some bonus tools here. If you hit 1, it'll show you the front. If you hit 3, it'll show you the side, and if you hit 7, it'll show you the top. Now, all of these look exactly the same because it is a cube. Imagining it is not a cube, they will all look different. So that is navigation. You can practice those tools and just look around your cube, pan, remember to select it, hit 1 to zoom in again, and then jump between your different views. You will be using these all the time, so getting familiar with them is really, really important. So that is navigation. On to the next step. Blender has 2 different modes that beginners need to learn. The first mode is the mode we're in right now, which is object mode. This allows us to see our object in the scene. Now, if I hit G, which allows me to grab that object, I can move it around the scene. You can see here that it is moving around that different pivot point, different to what we were doing before. Now I'm actually moving the object. Then if I also hit Control Z, everyone's favorite tool, that will undo everything. Control Z is our undo button. Learn it well. You will be using it all the time. Now, the next view is, or the next mode is our edit mode. And I do that by selecting the object because you have to edit specific objects, and I hit Tab. Now I am in edit mode. This means when I hit G, it is going to alter the geometry of the object, which we will get into a little bit more soon. But yes, they are the 2 modes. So practice jumping between those 2 modes. You'll see in the top left, it's currently in object mode. And then when I go into edit mode, you can see that suddenly I can select different parts of the geometry of this cube. That is object mode and edit mode, the 2 modes you're going to be using all the time. The next 3 tools you're going to use more than anything else, and that is moving, rotating, and scaling. So if I select my cube in object mode and I hit G, as I did before, I can move this around. This is the move tool, the grab tool, G for grab. You can move this tool around. If I undo all that and then I go into edit mode, you've seen if I grab parts of the geometry and I hit G, that moves that around as well. So depending on the view is going to do different things of whether we're moving it around the scene or moving specific parts of the geometry. Now, if I hit R, I can rotate it. you see it's kind of spinning all around here. So R is for rotate. And if I hit S, S is for scale. So as you can imagine, these three tools are incredibly powerful. Now, what's also great about this is because we're working in three-dimensional space across our x-axis, our y-axis, and our z-axis, which you can see from this little gizmo in the top right. Also, if you click on this gizmo, it also allows you to navigate around the scene. Another bonus there. If you don't want to use the numpad, you can use the gizmo. But what we can also do is if I select this object and I hit scale, but then I hit Z, you can see this blue line appears. That means I can scale purely on the Z-axis. If I hit X, you'll see it's now scaling purely on the X-axis, and the same for if I hit S and Y, it's only scaling on the Y-axis. Now, this is super powerful for as we're moving around our space, and I can scale it on the x-axis. Okay, cool. But I also want it, I want it to be a little bit taller. Scale it on the z, and there you go. You can also hit S, Shift Z, and then it'll scale it on everything but the x-axis. So practice scaling on the different axes. Also, you can grab on the z-axis to move it up and down, or the y, or the x. So yeah, that basically constrains it to that axis, which makes it really useful for moving around the space. Same within edit mode. If I grab this vertex and I hit grab on the z, I can just move that one up, grab z. So there you go. I'm going to undo all this back to our default cube again. So yeah, practice those tools. Grab, scale, and rotate. If I rotate on the Z, look, you can see that it's going to just rotate around that Z-axis. Nice. So yeah, these are definitely the tools you're going to be using more than anything. So keep practicing with these until they feel natural. And that is moving, rotating, and scaling. Next, we're going to look at adding and deleting objects within our scene. So right now we have the default cube. You can see him up here in the scene as cube. If I hit X, I can delete selected objects and then hit delete. Oh no, he's gone. Well, no worries. In this menu bar at the top, you can put add, mesh. So all of our objects are made of mesh or made of meshes. And if I hit cube, cube is back, default cube, so no need to worry. So X to delete, and then if you hit add, mesh, cube, he comes right back. And then X to delete again. There is also a hotkey for that. If you hit Shift and A, it brings up that add menu, and then you can put in whatever you like. So you can also put in a sphere, look. So this is a sphere, and we can hit X and delete that, add, back, mesh, cube. There he is. Delete him again. You can delete the cube infinite times. Isn't that so cathartic? So Shift A, mesh, cube, bring him back. And there we have it. So that is adding and deleting objects into our scene. Now, if I click off there and hit add, mesh, cube, I now have a second cube, cube.001. If I hit grab, you'll see that he is there. It just placed him in exactly the same place. So they were just exactly on top of each other. So now I have two cubes in the scene, but we're going to delete one of them and be left with our default cube. And now we move on to the fun part, editing our object. Let's look at some edit mode basics. So first of all, I want you to hit select the object and hit tab to go into edit mode. You will now see that we have everything selected. So if you click off, so it's not selected, and you look in the top here, we have this little dot, this little line, and this little square. Now, if I select now, I am in vertex select mode, which selects these different points. If I hit 2, not on the numpad, but in the top bar numbers, if I hit 2, now it's edge select, or, selects the lines. This selects the edge between two vertexes. If I hit 3, it is the face select. So now, if I use those same tools we were using before, like grab, you'll see that it grabs the whole face and moves them around on the z-axis or the x-axis, whatever. If I hit 2 and I grab the line, same thing, but it's grabbing the line of our object. If I hit 1, it grabs the individual vertex. So you can see how powerful this is. If I grab that, scale won't do anything because it's just a single vertex. But if I grab that entire face and I hit scale, you'll see that it will scale all of the geometry that we have selected there, which is pretty cool. So just undo that, get the cube back to normal. And that is our basic edit mode tools. So have a little practice with your cube. Drag it around. Remember, if you mess up, you can just delete him, Shift A, and add another one in. So if it gets a little bit too crazy, don't worry, you can bring that right back. So yeah, practice edit mode, doing vertex select, then hitting 2, doing edge select, and 3, face select, because we are going to need that all the time. Next up, we're going to look at 4 powerful editing tools that you are going to use all the time. Probably 90% of the time, you're just going to use these 4 tools. The first one being extrude. So if you hit 3 to have face select active in edit mode, of course, and you select this face and you hit E, it is going to extrude from that face and create more geometry. You see, now we have 2 parts of the cube. If we take another face and extrude from there, you can see that's going to pull right out. Now, extruding will extrude along in the direction of the face that you're extruding from, unless you say otherwise. So if I hit X, which is the direction, if I hit Y, it's now going to extrude to the side, which looks a bit messy. If I hit Z, it'll extrude up and down. If I get rid of it, I can extrude however I like, and I can do that just by hitting it again. But we want that to extrude along the x-axis here, and that is extruding. Another tool we have, and you can see now we're getting more interesting shapes. The second tool is going to be insetting. Insetting allows us to add a face within a face, and let me explain what that means. So if I select this face and I hit I, hotkey I, it's now going to inset another face within that face. This is great for creating more complex shapes. And if you look now, if I extrude that and we combine those 2 tools, inset a face, extrude that. Now we're getting this cool house. It looks like a garish kind of Bauhaus style house, but you get the idea. You can start making more and more complex shapes by extruding and insetting. So I am going to take this monstrosity and hit X and delete it, and then again Shift A, mesh, create a new cube to show you the third powerful tool of the 4 power tools you'll be using all the time, and that is loop cuts. So we have this basic square. Let's say we want to add a little bit extra geometry, some more faces to that. I can hit Control R, and this brings up the loop cut tool. Now I don't have anything selected, but you can see here it gives me the options of where I can put the loop cut. Now, if I have this here and then I scroll the scroll wheel, I can increase the amount of cuts I can do across these faces. Whether it be here or here or here, it basically creates paths by averaging out the distances between the vertexes or vertices. I know I've been saying vertexes or vertices, you'll hear it both ways. Them being the little points, they're our vertexes. So, 1 is vertex mode. But if I scroll up here, I can add the loop cuts, and there you see it creates some additional geometry there. And I could add them here, like 1 here. I can if I do a loop cut now, it's going to pick a side because it's going to average out between the different lines, between the different points and lines there. So yeah, you can add your loop cuts in, and then obviously now if I do 2 edge select mode and grab that, I now have extra geometry to work with. And again, I have this weird angle sticking out here. Let me just move that because it's not very nice geometry. And I could, if I wanted, extrude from here, inset this face. There we go. There you go. Inset the face, extrude, and create all sorts of horrible shapes. Now that is awful, but you get the idea. So let's select that, delete that, and go back to our basic cube. For the final tool, a very neat tool, which can be the step of making your models look incredibly polished, and that is the bevel tool. So if I select this edge and then I hit Control B, you can see here, let me just reduce the amount there. You can see here that it bevels the edge, adds like a kind of chamfer to the edge. Now, as before, if I scroll up on the mouse wheel, it will increase or decrease, if I scroll back, the amount of faces it creates on the bevel. So if I accept that by clicking again, you can see it creates this nice edge. And if I come out of edit mode into object mode, you can see I kind of have this rounded edge. Now, of course, the more edges we put on this bevel, the smoother it's going to look. You see that compared to that? And that is the bevel modifier. So let's just remove those. Now, another way to select, I'm selecting these edges. What if you want several edges? Well, if you hold Shift, that will allow you to select several edges at once. So now I have all of these edges selected. If I hit Control B, I can then bevel all of those edges at once and do stuff like this. Now we're starting to create some really interesting shapes. And you can see if you combo these 4 tools all together, you can create some really incredible shapes pretty quickly. So that is it for this section. Okay, if you're still with me, then I think you've been crushing it. You've been figuring out all these tools. You're an absolute beginner Blender whiz already. Then let's have a quick bonus section and look at some modifiers. A modifier is something we can add to our model, which will, as it says, modify our model in some way, but we don't need to apply that, so we can easily toggle it on and off. So for example, one we're going to use and we'll be using all the time is the mirror modifier. So if I add the mirror modifier, it does exactly what you can imagine. It mirrors the model across one of the axes of our choice. So right now it's going to mirror on the x-axis. So if I grab the model and grab it on the x-axis and move it, you'll see that it mirrors in the opposite space. What's really cool is I can also mirror this on the y-axis if I want, and the z-axis. So right now it's not moving on those, but if I grab this on the y-axis, it's also mirroring on the y-axis, which is really, really cool. And then if I grab this on the z, it mirrors on the z-axis. So as you can imagine, a very, very powerful tool. But all of these are just mirror copies of this original model. So I can't actually alter any of these models because they're all being controlled by the modifier. To do that, I would have to go into object mode. And if I click this little drop down in the side panel on the modifier, if I click that and hit apply, and then go into edit mode, suddenly I have access to all of these shapes, which is pretty cool, right? Now, what's a good Blender rule of thumb is you do not want to apply any of your modifiers until it is absolutely necessary. Just leave them in the modifier panel. They're not hurting you. They're not hurting anyone. If you do need access to build them out, then just always apply at the very last minute. Because even when you export these models, you can export and apply modifiers at export. So it will export all of the edits you've made, but you don't all of your modifiers, but you still don't need to accept them. This is good for computational power. If you have them accepted, right now I've created 8 times the amount of geometry that I had before, which increases the computing power needed to render them and for us to work with them. So a good rule of thumb: keep your modifiers not applied until the last moment. I am going to delete this, and I'm going to quickly show you one more. If we get our basic cube, oh, no, not basic circle. If we get our basic cube back again, default cube, and I go into edit mode, right now I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to hit X and delete this face, so we have this simple box. Now, if I tried to print this, nothing would happen because these sides are way too thin. It's just one side of an object. Nothing would print. Now, if I want to add some weight to this, there's a modifier for that, and that is called the solidify modifier. So if I go down to add modifier, generate, solidify, and then I'm going to change this offset to 1 rather than -1, because right now it's solidifying on the inside. So I'm just going to change that. And then you see the thickness is 0.01 meters. Now, if I increase that amount, you'll see it starts to add this thickness. Now, it's creating me a cool box. Now, if I was to send this to print, it would print me a box with the sides, which is great. Now, you'll notice that I can only alter the geometry of my original object. And you can see, if I turn this modifier off by clicking this little button here, you can't see the modifier on there, but if I click it, here it comes back. Now, if I wanted to alter these sides, I'm like, this is perfect. I do want to apply the modifier because I want to start messing around with these sides. I can go into object mode and then hit this little drop down chevron and hit apply. Now, when I go back into edit mode, now I can alter all these sides, and you can see that it's created this nice, neat geometry. So there you go. There's the mirror modifier and the solidify modifier. Now, you see, if I hit Command Z, I want to go back to just the point before I applied the modifier. You can stack your modifiers. So if I now add a mirror modifier on the x-axis, and I hit G on the x-axis, oops, in edit mode, hit all, and then hit G on the x-axis, you will see, there you go. Now, one thing to learn, and you'll figure this out the more you do it, is you need to be, the modifiers work in either edit mode or object mode. You need to know which mode you're in. Now, the mirror modifier, you need to be in edit mode as you move things around for the mirror modifier to be working. You may have noticed if I'm in object mode and I select these and I move them, it's not going to work because it's mirroring between these two objects. So if I go back in now, and now your pivot point will sort of be off. It's not in the center anymore. So just be aware of what mode you're in while you're making those edits. It will become like a second nature to you, jump in between those. But for now, they are our modifiers. And as you can see, there are tons. Feel free to have a play around with some of these modifiers and explore. But for now, we're just going to be working with mirror and solidify as an intro to those. In other tutorials, I will delve deeper into some of the other tools that we'll be using a little bit more. But for now, that is our bonus section complete. And there you have it, folks. Everything you need to get started modeling in Blender. How cool is that? If you keep practicing all of these techniques we go through today, keep going back through the chapters and having a look. If there's anything you're not sure about, keep practicing. Before long, it will be incredibly intuitive and will feel supernatural to you. Supernatural, not supernatural. They're very different. If you've really enjoyed this tutorial and you want to see more, then please like and subscribe. I will be doing loads more tutorials, and later I'll be showing you how we can model things for 3D printing, kind of like this, or even like this, all made in Blender using the same techniques that we've touched upon today. So follow along, let's create some awesome stuff together.